It's a multi-billion-dollar problem plaguing communities across the country, infiltrating ecosystems and wreaking havoc.
We're talking about invasive species, which the USDA defines as non-native animals, plants, and organisms that can hurt the economy, the environment, and even human health.
Investigative reporter Kristin Crowley goes in-depth on the toll these costly creatures take on America and what's being done to attack and offset the price of pests.
When it comes to invasive pests, there's no shortage of them across the U.S. They're on the land, like fire ants in Hawaii.
They like to nest in fruit trees, so when you pick a fruit, the ants will rain down on top of you.
They're in the air, like the European starling in Alaska.
They're cavity nesters, and they steal nesting sites from other birds.
And they're in the water, like these mollusks. Except one of these is native and important to the ecosystem, while the other is an invasive species that costs the U.S. economy hundreds of millions of dollars every year. But can you tell which one? It's this one, called the zebra mussel.
And what exactly is a zebra mussel?
They're native to Eurasia, but they've been spread across multiple continents and unfortunately into ours. The shells are thinner and a little bit more fragile.
Scientist Stephen McMurray with Missouri's Department of Natural Resources says it's unfortunate because they outcompete native mollusks for food and can throw the ecosystem for a loop. But it's more than an environmental problem.
From an economic standpoint, industries, not necessarily so much in Missouri, but in other states, have spent millions of dollars a year trying to keep zebra mussels out of their facilities, or once they become infested, to clean pipes and pumps and various things like that.
One example of that is in Oklahoma City, where the zebra mussel infiltrates this water treatment plant non-stop, leading to cleanups like these twice a year.
Few months, females can produce several 100,000 or more.
Is it possible for zebra mussels to spread to every single state in the United States?
Depending on water conditions, I think, yeah, it probably is possible.
The United States Department of Agriculture says in North America, the cost of dealing with invasive species, including animals and plants, has grown. It was around $2 billion a year in the 1960s. And today,
we estimate about $40 billion a year in damage and crop loss, trees, and other kind of plants like in the environment.
John Crow is a national policy manager in plant protection with the USDA. He says prevention is key.
That's why we really have this Hungry Pest campaign that looks to protect our economy, food, and environment.
It's just a piece of firewood, right?
This campaign looks to educate people about how to prevent the spread of invasive species by not moving things like firewood or foreign plants and fruits.
Leave hungry pests behind.
The zebra mussel, whose larvae are microscopic, hitches rides on boats, so it's important to completely dry them out before moving them to another body of water. Those seemingly small efforts are important because of how expensive fighting invasive species can be. Take the zebra mussel, for example. The pest has made the Lake of the Ozarks home for the last decade. There's a chemical that could kill it, but Stephen says it's not worth it.
You have no way of preventing a reintroduction. So if you spend the billions of dollars it would take to rid Lake of the Ozarks of zebra mussels, you would have no way of preventing it from reoccurring.
And it would cost billions to eradicate them there.
At that lake in particular, it would be billions of dollars, just in chemical alone.
But one scientist says there is another option, although it may be hard to stomach.
You're suggesting people eat invasive species.
That's right, and in many cases, they're quite delicious.
Dr. Joe Roman says if you can't beat them, eat them. He bought into the idea about 20 years ago and encourages others to do the same.
I don't think we're going to eat these animals to extinction, but if we harvest them in particular areas, the numbers go down of these invasive species, and more exciting as a conservation biologist is the native species start to pick up as well again.
How do you get the public perception to accept this method?
50 years ago, Americans thought the idea of eating raw fish was strange, right? And now sushi is everywhere.
His website, eattheinvaders.org, lists recipes for things like wild boar tacos and popcorn Asian shore crab.
They're just small crabs, and as a friend of mine described them after they sauteed them, it was kind of like Doritos with legs.
But Dr. Roman says invasive species as food should be a last resort. Preventing them in the first place should be the starting point.
And that, education experts say, is working. Crow tells us at one point roughly 70 invasive plant species were coming into the country every year.
Now he says that number's been cut in half. He even had an example of how one educated person prevented a potential disaster.
We really were saved by a woman in Long Island with Asian longhorn beetle. She reported Asian longhorn beetle early and saved us years and millions of dollars in research, and not research, but in survey and eradication dollars with it, just by that early report of it.
And if you notice a plant or animal in your area that you think could be invasive, you can report it. Each state has a plant health director. You can find yours on the USDA's website.